That night, the studio lights were bright, and the audience's applause echoed loudly. The theme song played, and once again the spotlight hit the familiar face of the host, Stephen Colbert, known for his sharp humor and biting commentary. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Stephen walked out, flashing his usual charming smile. Holding a stack of papers, he looked up at the camera and paused. Then he changed his tone, serious but playful, as though about to reveal something big. I have a confession. I think I'm in love with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. The audience burst into laughter. Some whistled. Stephen playfully blushed, putting his hand on his chest like he was falling in love for real. But his eyes twinkled with mischief. He continued, "She's smart, strong, and, of course, beautiful. But let me ask, does politics require beauty? Or just the talent for scandal?" The laughter grew, but beneath the joke there was something sharper, a jab disguised as humor. Colbert pretended to be confused and love-struck, but everyone understood. It was satire, a way to mock the online rumors claiming Jasmine used her beauty to gain attention in politics. Those rumors had been circulating on gossip blogs, shady tweets, and late-night discussions. Now they were fuel for a national TV comedy sketch. It was supposed to be a joke, a short segment, a laugh before bedtime. But someone wasn't laughing. Jasmine. At home, Jasmine sat watching the show, sipping a cup of chamomile tea. Her face was calm, but her eyes sharp as glass. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She simply sat still, staring ahead, remembering every comment, every smirk, every person who had ever underestimated her. She turned off the TV and opened her laptop. On the screen, folders were already prepared. Organized, researched, solid. Jasmine wasn't the type to just react. She planned. And this time, she wouldn't just respond. She would expose the truth. If they think I'm just a pretty face, they're about to meet the storm. A soft smile curled on her lips. Not one of revenge, but one of justice. The next day, Stephen Colbert's segment went viral. The clip of him pretending to profess his love for Jasmine Crockett flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The internet exploded with memes. Hashtags like Walker Colbert Crush and Nasher Hot in Congress began trending. TV analysts chuckled about it on morning talk shows, laughing while sipping their coffee. But while the media laughed, Jasmine stayed calm. She posted a tweet with a close-up of her face, confident, unbothered, accompanied by a simple caption, "Smart, strong, beautiful. But let's talk about your secrets, Mr. Colbert." Beneath her tweet, there was a link to a video. The video started with smooth jazz music in the background. Jasmine appeared, wearing a crisp white blazer, walking towards the camera with a slow, deliberate pace. She stopped and faced the lens, her expression serious. Some jokes cross a line, especially when they hide a bigger truth. "Let me show you." The camera cut abruptly and a slideshow began. The first photo, Stephen Colbert lounging on a yacht, glass of champagne in hand, clearly enjoying a luxury getaway. Then the next photo appeared, Stephen shaking hands with a well-known oil lobbyist at a private golf club. The next slide showed Colbert attending a closed-door dinner with a list of guests that included CEOs from fossil fuel companies. Text flashed across each image. Comedy or cover-up? Colbert's cozy ties to big oil. The Late Show's quiet sponsors, who's really funding the laughs? The final slide appeared. It was a screenshot of leaked emails. The messages showed a conversation between Colbert's producer and a PR firm working for major oil companies. The messages casually joked about keeping the green girl quiet, referring to Jasmine, of course. The internet went wild. Was this real? Was it a setup? Could this be true? Stephen's team remained silent. Meanwhile, Jasmine went live on Instagram. She looked straight into the camera, her voice calm but powerful. "I'm not here to cancel anyone. I'm here to ask, why do powerful men get to joke while powerful women get questioned?" Tens of thousands tuned in. The comments flooded in faster than anyone could read. Queen energy. She just dropped the truth bomb. She's changing the game. Pretty and powerful. Within hours, a new movement was born, one that didn't just defend Jasmine, but also questioned how the media and society treat powerful women, especially women of color. And Jasmine? She simply leaned back on her couch, sipping her tea once again. But this time she smiled, knowing she had just flipped the script. As Jasmine's video continued to gain momentum, something unexpected happened. The joke Stephen Colbert had made, once seen as harmless satire, was now the subject of serious discussion. What was meant to be a lighthearted moment of humor had turned into a major political statement. News outlets picked up the story. Blogs and online platforms exploded with discussions, not just about the leaked images and emails, but about the broader issue of how women in power are treated. There was a shift in the conversation, and it wasn't just about Colbert anymore. Jasmine became the face of a movement, a symbol of strength and defiance. Her message resonated deeply, especially with women of color, who often found themselves caught between their capabilities and societal perceptions of their worth. Public opinion was shifting. People started questioning the fine line between humor and exploitation, between satire and mockery. Social media influencers and activists rallied behind her, sharing the hashtag Pretty and Powerful far and wide. At the same time, Colbert's silence became deafening. He didn't respond to the accusations immediately. In fact, he didn't say anything at all. His team, in an attempt to diffuse the growing tension, released a statement saying it was all in good fun, a harmless joke. But it didn't sit right with the public. Many saw Colbert's attempt to laugh off the situation as an attempt to cover up something deeper. The internet didn't forget the photos. They didn't forget the emails. The more they dug, the more connections seemed to appear between Colbert and the powerful oil lobbyists who had been tied to environmental harm and political corruption. The hashtag number sign Pretty and Powerful became more than just a trend. It turned into a rallying cry for accountability. Jasmine, however, wasn't done. She had one more move left. She called a press conference, her words carefully chosen, her tone unwavering. In front of the cameras, she looked directly at the world, eyes fierce and focused. "I didn't start this fight, but I'm damn well going to finish it. It's time for the truth to come out." She held up a folder with documents inside. More evidence. It wasn't just about Colbert and the oil lobbyists anymore. Jasmine had connected the dots, showing how intertwined media, politics, and corporate influence had become. She wasn't just exposing Colbert. She was exposing a system that allowed the rich and powerful to pull strings behind the scenes while hiding behind jokes and smiles. The pressure mounted on Colbert, and the public turned against him, not just because of the jokes, but because of what those jokes symbolized. They symbolized the bigger problem of corruption, exploitation, and the mistreatment of women in politics. Jasmine didn't want Colbert's apology. What she wanted was a reckoning. And soon enough, it looked like she would get it. As the pressure mounted on Colbert, something changed. The story took on a life of its own. News outlets that had initially dismissed Jasmine's response as a clever comeback now couldn't ignore it. Public figures, from politicians to celebrities, began to speak out in support of Jasmine, praising her for turning a seemingly insignificant joke into a call for justice. Colbert, once beloved for his sharp humor and quick wit, was now facing a crisis of credibility. His silence only fueled the fire. The public wasn't satisfied with his vague statements. They wanted answers. Was this really just a harmless joke, or was there something more insidious behind it? Jasmine's calm, composed demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos surrounding Colbert. She was no longer just the subject of a joke. She had become a symbol of defiance against a system that allowed those in power to use their influence to undermine others. Behind the scenes, Colbert's team scrambled. Internal meetings were held, strategy sessions planned, and damage control was in full swing. But it was too late. The public had already seen the pictures, read the emails, and connected the dots. The story had shifted. What was once about a comedian's joke was now about corruption, power, and the exploitation of women in politics. Then came the hearing. In an unprecedented move, a special session was called in the Senate to address the scandal. While it wasn't solely focused on Colbert, his name was mentioned again and again, as lawmakers and advocates from both sides of the aisle questioned the role of media figures in shaping public opinion and the way women in politics are treated. Jasmine appeared before the Senate, looking as confident as ever. She wasn't there for a show, she was there to demand accountability. And as she spoke, the room grew still. Her words were sharp, precise, and unwavering. This isn't just about me or a late-night joke. It's about how we treat women in power, how we undermine them with words, with media, with humor. It's time we hold ourselves accountable, not just for the jokes we make, but for the systems we enable. Her speech was met with applause from the gallery, a rare moment of unity in an otherwise divided chamber. For the first time, people began to realize the scale of the issue. This wasn't just a scandal, it was a reflection of the deeply ingrained biases in American society. When Stephen Colbert finally addressed the scandal, it came in the form of a segment on, and it was nothing like the public had hoped for. The apology everyone expected didn't come. Instead, Colbert launched into a lengthy defense of his actions, claiming that the joke had been misunderstood. He insisted that his intent had never been to undermine or attack Jasmine, or any woman in politics. It was just comedy, he argued, meant to poke fun at the stereotypes surrounding powerful women. The Late Show. But the audience wasn't buying it. The internet exploded once again, and this time, the backlash was swift and intense. Critics quickly pointed out that Colbert's defensive response only further demonstrated the issue. A man in power making light of the very real challenges women face in public life. His attempt at humor had crossed a line, and his inability to truly acknowledge the harm he had caused made it even worse. Jasmine's supporters rallied around her, louder than ever. Social media was flooded with posts from people calling out Colbert's refusal to take responsibility. The hashtag number sign, Pretty and Powerful, reached new heights, becoming a rallying cry for anyone who felt the sting of being judged for their appearance instead of their abilities. Women everywhere, from politicians to everyday citizens, joined the conversation, sharing their own experiences of being undermined and dismissed in a male-dominated world. The public conversation shifted. What started as a joke aimed at undermining Jasmine's reputation had now turned into a widespread condemnation of how women, especially women of color, are treated in politics and the media. People began to see Colbert's joke not as an innocent quip, but as a reflection of the larger problem of sexism and power imbalances that persist in society. Meanwhile, Colbert's team scrambled to salvage what was left of the comedian's reputation. There were rumors of behind-the-scenes meetings and crisis communication strategies, but it was too late. The damage had been done. His credibility was shaken, and many began questioning whether he had taken advantage of his platform to promote more than just entertainment, whether he had been serving the interests of powerful forces behind the scenes. The final blow came when the Senate organized a hearing to address the larger issue of media accountability and the way women in power are treated. While the hearing wasn't entirely focused on Colbert, his name was brought up repeatedly. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle spoke about the dangers of media figures using their influence to shape public opinion in ways that harm those they deem vulnerable, especially women in politics. Jasmine, however, took center stage at the hearing, not with anger, but with a calm determination that made her words all the more powerful. When it was her turn to speak, the room grew still. She didn't speak of revenge or personal grievances. She spoke of the systemic issues that allowed men in power to mock and undermine women. She called for change, for accountability, for fairness, for a more just system. "This isn't just about me or a late-night joke," Jasmine said, her voice strong and clear. "It's about how we treat women in power, how we ridicule them, how we silence them, how we use humor to diminish their worth. It's time we confront the truth and take responsibility for the narratives we allow to thrive." Her words resonated in the room and across the nation. For the first time in a long while, a political conversation in America wasn't just about policy. It was about something deeper, something that reached into the core of societal values. It was about recognizing the ways in which humor, media, and power intersect, and how often they are used to hurt rather than heal. Jasmine's speech was a turning point. It wasn't just about holding Colbert accountable. It was about making a statement that the media needed to change. It was a call for reflection, How far had society come in treating women equally, and how much farther did it need to go? As the weeks passed, the fallout from the scandal continued to ripple through the media and politics. For Colbert, the damage was significant, but he managed to stay in the public eye with his usual charm. Still, many felt the weight of his silence and defensive stance. The true lesson from this scandal wasn't in the mockery of a late-night host, but in how the system could be exposed for its flaws. Flaws that, until Jasmine's response, had gone largely unchecked. Jasmine, on the other hand, had sparked a movement. What started as a personal comeback against a late-night joke had transformed into a larger conversation about gender, power, and the media's role in shaping public perception. Her social media following grew exponentially as more and more people began to see her not just as a politician, but as a leader who was unafraid to speak out and hold others accountable. But while Jasmine's victory was significant, she knew the fight wasn't over. The public reckoning was just the beginning. She had ignited a conversation, but there was still much work to be done. The public had begun to demand answers from media figures like Colbert, but the systemic issues that allowed for this kind of behavior to persist remained. Her challenge, as always, was to use her platform to continue pushing for change, not just in the media, but in the very institutions that shaped the country. The media learned a harsh lesson. The audience was no longer going to let harmful jokes slide. They wanted real change, and Jasmine, with her calm and calculated response, had shown them how to demand it. As the Senate hearings wrapped up, Jasmine sat back, quietly satisfied. She had faced the storm, and now it was time for the winds of change to blow. Her fight was far from over, but this was the moment when her voice, once quiet and underestimated, became the one that people listened to. Jasmine had transformed a moment of ridicule into a powerful movement for justice, and in doing so, she had sent a message that would be heard for years to come. Don't miss out on more powerful stories like this. If you found Jasmine's journey inspiring and want to hear more about the stories that matter, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Every week we bring you thought-provoking tales, hidden truths, and the voices that challenge the status quo. Join the conversation, stay informed, and be part of the movement for change. Hit the subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let's continue to speak out together.